And welcome, everyone. I'm here today with a very special Canadian friend, colleague, Grace Tan, who's joining me from Vancouver. And welcome, Grace.
Thank you for having me here, Laurel. It's such a pleasure. It's my first time doing something like this.
Oh,
So
oh, I
it's
had no idea. Well, thank you so much. And the reason I invited you is because I noticed right away is when I first met you through a networking event how passionate you were about empowering women through their health. So through their wealth, pardon me. So that's what we're going to talk to everyone about today. And if we haven't already met, those of you who are coming in live or on the replay, I'm Laurel Lyon. I'm creator of Aspiring to Inspiring. I'm a business coach with a therapy background, and I love to talk to entrepreneurs about the passion they have for the business that they do. And Grace has been a financial professional for almost 2 decades. I thought
you started
I
really
thought you'd
young.
appreciate me saying that, Grace. She has her Bachelor of Arts degree in sociology and a background in working with kids with special needs. And that really says a lot about you, Grace. Just the compassion and patience that you bring to the work that you do today, especially when you're working with supporting families and
Mhm.
couples. And you have a financial education in planning, and yeah, you're passionate about financial literacy and accessibility to that. And something too that, I love that my husband, my partner in life, also participates in a lot of the work that I do.
Mm.
He became a therapist after I was a therapist. I always say
Mm.
because I'm a lot of work. He needed counseling. He needed counseling. So, but he works alongside of me, and so does your husband. Well,
Mhm.
you're in the same field, and I'm not sure if that's how you always work, but it's always
Mhm.
nice to have that partner that has that understanding. And when we were talking last, it was about your passion to help women understand the options that they have, because it can be really daunting, all the information out there, where to start, and so on. So Grace, how did you come to be in a financial field like this, working with what you're doing today?
Yes, thank you so much, Laurel, for having me here. Absolutely. I think it started off with my own feelings of like overwhelm or not even knowing where to start, and actually that math and finance and numbers was not something I didn't feel I was strong at. I love working with people, and so I think it started with my own personal journey of wanting to understand what I have, and then also where to start, and actually, build wealth, like in a way that it's in a way that I feel comfortable and know my choices, and feel empowered by them rather than feeling rushed and stressed about it, right? And so, yeah, so then in the beginning, it was just for me to learn for myself. But then I realized that actually, if I could understand it and it can be communicated in a great, simple way and in a supportive manner, I can do that for other women, right? And so, so that's when the passion really started. That that whether you're born here in Canada or immigrated here, I find that I meet women who feel the same way, actually, who are connect, who,
Oh,
yeah, in
can
regards
we
to that.
talk about that for just a few moments when you say that? So, immigrant women, do you find that they feel at a disadvantage with the financial, or just understanding money? Is that like a cultural thing that women aren't educated on it? Because here's the thing, in North America, in years gone by, times gone by, girls were considered to not be smart for numbers. And
Mhm.
in the time that I grew up in, that was a boy field. Espe
Mhm.
Engineers, you never used to see women as engineers because
True.
and from my therapy background, I see it as numbers is a masculine quality,
Mhm.
and, it's we have 2 parts of our brain, our feminine, our masculine, but that
Mhm.
that masculine thing can be held over us in a way of control, but
Mhm.
women can feel disempowered because they feel embarrassed.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that a lot of times it's because we are not encouraged to pursue it, or perhaps we
Mm.
just, maybe it's cultural. I'm not sure that that you're encouraged to pick fields where it seems more suitable for a woman.
Mm.
Yeah, my mom was a nurse, right? And actually, I had a heart for teaching anyway, so that was the direction that I wanted to go towards. But I do think that if it was more encouraged and supported, actually, once I started learning, I realized, hey, I can understand this, and more people can too. And I think, like with anything, whether it's cooking, whether it's numbers, whether it's swimming, you won't build confidence unless you actually do it, try it, practice, fail, and keep going. And so I think it's this opportunity to practice will allow us to gain confidence, and having a supportive community along with that is important. And yeah, and I find that, like, whether you've been here in Canada for a long time or you've immigrated here, there's two vantage points, but I think they both feel the same way as women, that they're not sure where to start, or they've done something a long time ago but then haven't looked at it since. So again, the confidence is not there. And you hear that from a lot of women. And the thing is, we live longer, right? So actually, when it comes to retirement planning and estate planning, we're going to be responsible for these assets. So it's actually gaining confidence and information as early as possible, I think is so key. Mhm.
Well, you touch on something that's really significant and not talked a lot about. That we're hearing more about it, but you're right. Estate issues when a partner is gone, because death does not discriminate by age these days,
Mhm.
and we see a lot more younger leaving leaving this world. I'll say.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so especially when they're younger, and you've not had that discussion, or you don't feel
Mhm.
you've had time for that discussion. So that's a really good point to bring up, that people, I know we had an experience in our own family with death early on, and that changed how I raised my children, and the talk around death and
Mhm.
financial and all of this. So we're kind of unique in that way, whereas a lot of people want to shield their children from it, but you don't do them any favors because then they grow up, like you said, kind of head in the sand over those issues. And that's cultural or not. I think that's just kind of a thing that I the time in which I grew up, there was a lot of, oh, we leave that to the men. And
Mhm.
oh, we got skidoos. I don't know if you heard that. It's
I
still
heard
snow. It's plus degrees, but there's snow, and the skidooers love it out here.
that.
I'm in Saskatchewan.
There you go.
Anyway, anyways,
Yeah.
I'm sorry I hijacked you there, Grace.
No, you know what? You're absolutely correct, Laurel, that it's so important to have these discussions with your children. When it makes sense. I think even with like when they start working, right? When they start working part-time and they're dealing with money. And it's all about habits. So if that's not like if that's not like what's the word, like facilitated or like like empowering the
Right?
young people at the very start, they kind of develop, and I feel I did that, develop like bad habits, right? I learned how to use my credit card when I was in university because that's it was offered, and really needed some guidance there. So having conversations along with like just in the realities of like what does a will, like what does that mean, and a little bit of harder conversations, but I think it saves families heartaches later on in or
Oh,
confusion or
oh, yeah, I totally agree with you. Is something that we did for our kids because my I grew up in a time when, things were just taken care of and the money wasn't talked about. I remember walking into the kitchen, mom was writing out the checks and paying bills, and it would be close the book like that. And it's like, we don't
Mhm,
talk about those things. That's how I grew up. But with my
mhm.
girls, they started working when in their last couple years of high school, and they had lots of money. So it
All
became an
disposable
issue.
income.
It became an issue,
Yeah.
and then, so we got them set up through the bank, and they had, the credit cards that were you bank the money, and then you only take what's in the credit card, basically
Mhm.
a debit Visa
Prepaid,
type
I
of
think.
card
Yes.
that
Yeah, prepaid credit
preloaded, and
card.
so that was so empowering. I watched those girls be so good with their money, and they did get credit cards, but they went through the process of earning that, and they have really high paying jobs today. And that's it's all about pay it down. I'm living in my one daughter's house who doesn't even live here. Well, our house is being built. Like,
Wow.
it's kind of like, it's so amazing. She says, "Mom, I think I'm going to buy a house close to you." And she says, "Well, I already found one." She came, and in one day, because the credit rating was so good, honestly, the banker was giddy. I said, "Use our local bank, build rapport. You haven't lived here before." And it was like, within 20 minutes,
Wow.
everything was approved.
Amazing. And all because, I mean, even though that happened very quickly in that time, but you've been preparing her since you've had those conversations, and her confidence was built in what she's able to do because of empowering her at such a young age.
Well, it was so fun. It was
Mhm.
like that whole experience was so fun for her. The money
Mhm.
she saved by being able to do it because the finances were all set up. So I just want to say in this moment, welcome to everyone who's joining us live, or if you're coming in on the replay. I'm here with Grace Tan, who is joining us from Vancouver. She's a women's financial expert. She works with families, and also she has a heart for working with families, but she's especially passionate about empowering women through education with their wealth. And
Mhm.
yeah, so we're just sharing about credit cards and planning for if spouses die and so on. And honestly, we all came into this world, and we're all leaving. It may not look the same, but we are all leaving. So it's good to have a plan. and
Yes.
and that's what you were sharing.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely. And part of that is just being good steward of our resources, right? So even though yes, we leave everything on this earth, but during while we're here, the number one reason for divorce is financial challenges, actually financial instability, and it's one of the stresses in a relationship, and it affects health as well if you're not able to manage the basic things, right? So I think, if my thing is that if we can help you take care of this one area and feel confident and empowered and prepared as well for emergencies, those are important things as well, then you can focus on actually like life, right? Like the things that are very important to you, which is family and your faith, or your community, or your passions and stuff like that. Mhm.
Right. So, what are some of the tips and or tricks or tools that people can women can do to be empowered in this area?
I'm glad you asked. I mean, just like with a lot of things, we seek, if you're wanting to be healthy and lose weight, like I know a lot of people go to trainers and coaches, and if you're wanting, to improve your business, you hire a business coach, right? And you want to improve life. So I think when it comes to finances, I think don't be afraid to seek help. I think that's the first thing is what I love is that we get to work with you, sit down with you, look at your goals, right? So first things first is we go over your cash flow, and it can be intimidating to do it on your own, and actually you may not even want to look at it, but it's actually one of the most empowering exercise that I get to do with my clients, is really figuring out what goes in, what goes out, and what's there at the end of the day. And then therefore, when you have those numbers, then you know what to do. There's no hiding, right? And I think that part is pretty empowering. And so, yeah, so have someone support you in this. I'm more than happy to support you guys. But definitely, if there's someone that ask for that. So first is cash flow. Second is, if there's debt, we have to manage debt. Because of course, if you think about credit card interest, that's like 20 to 30%. There's no investment really that's going to catch up with that. And so therefore we have to manage that to either make it lower interest, or even zero interest, or even lowering the debt through debt consolidation. So we do help clients in that respect. The third one to look at is emergency fund. So just like through this pandemic, there were a lot of things that came up, right, that weren't expected, whether it was that you had to stop work, or you had to figure out, alternative ways of working, getting another job. So emergencies, you should have at least 3 to 6 months of your income set aside. So if you're earning, 2,000 a month, you're looking at 6 to 12,000 set aside for emergency, and so on. So it's so important to have that there, to have that peace of mind. So because if you don't, then it'll be the credit cards that's the emergency, and so you're kind of in that loop, right? So you don't want that.
Mm.
Fourth one is looking at your protection, especially for those who are self-employed women, right? But and as families, right, is that if something happens to you, whether critical illness, disability, and what we talked about, we don't know when we leave this earth, right? Death, right? Are things in place? Are things in place for you? So we're talking about life, critical illness, and disability. So it protects your income, it protects your business that you've been working hard to build, and making sure that your family is taken care of. And there's lots of options there. So part of it is learning what those options are, what's best for you, and it can be very reasonable. Fifth one is asset accumulation. So now, like, let's say, taking care of those first four things we talked about. Now it's, how do you make your money work for you, right? And it's actually, it's a big difference between like putting in your money in your savings or checking, earning 0 to 1%. You want your money to beat inflation, because inflation in Canada is between 3 to 4%. So if you have your money in your savings and checking account, it's actually losing value every year. You're losing money by just not having your money work for you. And so part of that is let's have that conversation, what that could look like for you. And whether you're more conservative or balanced, or more aggressive in regards to investments, we take a look at that, and we want to do it step by step. There's no rushing. Ask all your questions so then you can make those right decisions. And then lastly, we kind of touched on that, which is estate preservation, as well as estate planning. So you work hard to build up your nest egg and your wealth. Well, do you want it to get taxed, the majority of it to go to the government, or do you want it to go to your family? So part of that is putting those plans in place, putting wills in place to make sure that your hard-earned money that you work so hard for, right, really goes majority to the family. And again, information and education is key, in that respect. And then making sure that your family is aware of that. What we do too is we do generational help. Not only do we help the parents, but we also help the kids understand this, because sometimes I'll get parents say, hey, I don't want my kids to just lose it all, right? And you don't want that either. So part of it is they need to be educated. So we talk to them as well, so that they can start those habits early. And then we'd be able to make sure that they take care of whatever's coming to them, or whatever that they're going to build themselves.
Right. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Grace. So I just want to say to everyone who's joining us live, or if you're just coming in on the replay, I'm here with Grace Tan, who's a financial expert to women, families also, but she's especially passionate about working with women and women entrepreneurs. So um, she just shared with us a lot of tools and ways to be empowered through your wealth. And you're right. I just want to say too, congratulations to you, Grace, because you're expecting your first child. And when you talked about generational wealth, I was just thinking, well, your child is going to come into this world with a really great education and security around just the information that many don't come into this world with. So congratulations. And you're due in a couple months, a month.
A month, actually. I'm due on March 16th.
Oh, well,
so
congratulations to
and so
you and your
3 weeks
husband.
beforehand can happen anytime as well.
Yeah.
Thank you
Well,
so
and,
much.
and you know, for entrepreneurial women that are watching too, that's another really good point, because everything that you talked about it's so valuable. When I was an entrepreneur and having babies, we could not pay maternity benefits in as a sole entrepreneur. And I did not have a nest egg when I
Mhm.
was at home with both of my children. So today it's very different, and there's so many more programs for entrepreneurs. And like what you just said, it's about having that plan in place.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that's why I mean, it took us a little bit longer to, to start a family, and everything in its own timing. But now looking back, like especially for our entrepreneurial women, right? One of the reasons why I got into business was because of that flexibility, that I knew one day I was going to have a family. And so I wanted to have choices around that, in terms of how long, or how often, or in terms of being with our kids. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be self-employed and a business owner. But with that comes responsibility in a sense that with that freedom, you need to prepare certain things in regards to that, whether it's creating your own maternity fund, right, or taking advantage of the programs that are available, and as well, like, yeah, and it's been great because both my husband and I, you mentioned, are in this business, which I love, because we got married because we like spending time together, and we have our space as well. He's in a different room than I am. And we have our own appointments. But what's neat is that when it came to like doctor appointments when he was able to. Like, he was there with me, and there's nothing like that, that I didn't have to ask permission, to go and attend those appointments or whatever it is that's lined up. He didn't have to ask permission. We just go. And I think that's the power of being, a woman in business, and definitely if you're a couple in business.
Yeah. Oh, what a great story. Congratulations to you, your husband, and the little one that's coming. That's great. I've been an entrepreneur a long time too. I haven't worked for a boss in a long time, and I too um, there's no going back for me. That's never that freedom to, and what you said, like having to ask permission, that was the biggest
Mhm.
drawback for me, is like, yeah, too many things I missed. So yeah, so all of those entrepreneurial women that are watching today, there's, it's about having a plan. And I've been running your contact information across the bottom so people can get a hold of you. So Grace, would you share with us a book that you've read that had great impact in your life?
Oh my goodness, there's been a number of
Yeah.
books
Yeah.
that impacted me. So one of the things that really hit me was actually E-Myth. E-Myth, when I first read E-Myth, and it was understanding, and it made me think about business in a different way, in regards to understanding that working on your business and versus in your business kind of thing. And so part of it is sometimes we know what we do in business, but we don't know the other parts in terms of like expanding your business, and working on that strategy to be that business person, right? And so for that, that hit me in regards to just because for me, I was really green when I just started the business. I didn't have prior business experiences, and part of that is really understanding what is it at the end of the day that you want to accomplish. So that one hit me in terms of how am I going to build my business, and I think it's understanding scaling as well, and support, having support in that aspect. The other one that there's lots, but the other one,
Yeah.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I think part of that is just, like I said, I in the beginning I avoided numbers and finance, and part of it is I had to actually reconcile, like, why do I feel that way? Right. And the thing is that if your thoughts are like, money is not good, like, like you have certain thoughts about money that's actually
Mindset.
not healthy and serving you, then you're actually repelling 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 your wealth, right? So it's actually understanding that money is just a tool, right? It makes you more of who you are. And I think if you're a generous, compassionate person who want to help other people, then the more money you have, the more resources you can share. And one of the things that really hit me is I cannot give what I don't have. And sometimes, especially if you're a giver and compassionate person, like, it's so hard to help other people when you're in survival mode yourself. So part of it is, being able to put yourself in a good position, so then also you will be able to serve and be involved in projects that you really want to, and whether it's your time or your resources, right? Both are connected. You want to give that. So Think and Grow Rich made me think in terms of what am I attracting to my life, and what am I repelling, and am I actually very clear on why I'm doing what I'm doing. Mhm.
Yeah, powerful. I just actually was invited into a, a private group last night where Sharon Lecter, who wrote the Think and Grow Rich for Women book, and
Mhm.
I just adore her. She's so wise. Just she has so much experience, and she just gives such great advice. And yeah, that's fabulous. That book, I and what you say about philanthropy too. I've heard so many gurus from the stage say, you you want to, you know, give back to everyone. Well, teach your children how to make money so that they can support themselves too, and be that role model out there in your community, in your society, instead of just giving it away or expecting handouts. And I love that very frank and honest thought that yes, go and that's been my thoughts too. I was a single mom when my kids were really little. I know what it's like to be without, and I didn't complain. I went out and I worked, and I had this thing in my head: I'm gonna earn my own first million. And I think it was Donald Trump. They were interviewing him because he'd been bankrupt so many times, and I know about getting his wealth back. And he said, well, he says, if you can do it once, you can do it again. So I wasn't worried about it. And the first million is the hardest. After that, you just keep repeat, duplicate.
Yes, yes, because you have that knowledge and and confidence in you when
Confidence.
when you've hit it. Mhm.
Yeah, and this time in which we're in too, this online world, I believe so much of that wealth, connection to wealth, comes from those that we meet and network with,
Mhm.
those that are in our circle. So that's it. I really value you,
Mhm.
and isn't this a great um, time to be alive in business? There's been adversity, but wow, look at our businesses are that much you know there's so many more opportunities online, and some days it's like who had time to drive to work? I don't know.
Yeah, I believe that never before has it been more opportunistic, I think, for
Right.
women to be
Yeah.
in the business world and in the marketplace
Mhm.
because now, like, if we are able to work from home and because this is always the challenge is like you're balancing different roles, right? And so if you're able to build your business from the comfort of your home, never has it more opened up, opportunities for women to see what they could do, right? And
Mhm.
the fact that there are different groups and different people that are going to be there to support you. And I appreciate you so much, Laurel, for reaching
Mm.
out and not only inspiring women but giving them a platform to be able to share their story and voices. I think that's so
Mm.
important. So thank you for that.
Yeah, honestly, I love what I do, and this is how I am, anyways.
Mhm.
And I believe that that's really a big part of the purpose of the work that we do as entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
finding our purpose through the work we do. How do we serve? Because it's not about the money that we make; it's what the money does for us, and how it enriches our lives in so many different directions. So it's my pleasure, and thank you for acknowledging that also. And so, Grace, share with us something that people might not know about you.
That's a good question. So one of the things that people get surprised when I share with them something that they won't guess ever really is that my family came from the Philippines, and I've been in Canada since I was 8 years old, but I was actually born in Saudi Arabia. So my birth certificate is in Arabic and English, but I never really stayed there long enough. But my mom actually, had to work overseas to make ends meet, to actually have, opportunity because it's not enough to live and work in the Philippines, right? And
Mhm.
so it tends to be the moms actually that are strong enough and it happens today where families are separated because of it's a necessary survival thing. And soon enough after that, my grandma told my mom, "You need to come home. Your daughter daughter, your daughter needs you. And that's when we came and immigrated to Canada. And so that's why I think, being in financial services is, it's really close to my heart, because even today, moms and dads, they don't see each other, right? They're working shift
Mhm.
work, even
Mhm.
they're together in the same household, right? To make sure they can afford these big mortgages just in Vancouver, right? And
Yeah.
so, what if we can empower these families, empower the women,
Yeah.
in regards to this, to education and having confidence and putting things in place, and that way you don't have to make those really hard decisions that affect your family in such a big way. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I can totally relate, and I married my husband now of 26 years when my girls were 4 and 5, and he always worked away from home. And people used to say, "Oh, poor you," but and actually, that for me was, I had a home that I was secure in,
Mhm.
and back then it was. Living on his family's farm, and I became a certified organic farmer, which kind of went in line with health issues that were in the family and so on. And we eventually moved, but because he was always away, that's how I became an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
because I to fill those hours and to find my purpose. So yeah, I understand. It was when he came home that I would say the first 15 years was honeymoon, and, and we're still married, and we're really committed to it. It's a lot of work,
Mhm.
and when he comes home, because I work from home, it's kind of like, yeah, he still works in his field, but he is a therapist also, but he's not always home. So yeah, we like to have fun together, and we're used to working together. But he always says, I know when it's time for me to go back to work. I need my space.
Sometimes that is important. You need to have your space, and you need to know, and that kind of falls in line with the whole self-care for women. Like, you do, I think that's the one thing that I had to learn is, know what fills my soul. And for me, it's nature, it's girlfriends 101 talk, and what else, it's music, right? So you got to know what it is that fills you, so that you can be ready and whole to be able to give to other people. So
You're so right. You're so
Mhm.
right. That's really valuable to hear other women talk about that too. So I
Mhm.
really appreciate you, Grace.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much. I
much.
know, I feel like we could talk for hours.
Yeah, and we have. Right? We get on the calls. It's like, okay, we're gonna have to book another one.
Yeah.
So, so
Part two.
yeah. Thank you so much for sharing with my audience today, and for those who are coming in live, any or on the replay, any questions you have, any comments, please do leave them in, because the feed will be kept live, and Grace will answer all of your questions. We'll also post below the live feed in the comments. You can find a direct link to her, and thank you again so much for sharing your wisdom and expertise, and being a great advisor to women entrepreneurs who are searching for more information to either make the first steps or to continue their journey in their financial health. Thank you, Grace.
You're welcome. Thank you, Laurel. Take care.
Bye bye.